All right, well, welcome everyone to this is Engaging with Purpose. Did you want to talk about the tech if you need tech help, or make sure you can find your chat because we will be using that today. I'm hoping everybody knows that if you hover at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to pull that chat box up and use it. Am I missing anything? Oh, make sure you use your names, first and last names.
That's it. Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is Amber there? Yeah, you're there. Okay. Do you want to introduce Amber? All right. Well, I'm Cindy. My name
Hello?
is Cindy.
There you go.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, I'm switching tech because my internet's not working. Can you hear me now, Cindy?
Yes, now I can hear
Excellent.
you.
Welcome. I'm glad you're here.
All right. Well, I'm Cindy Secord, and I teach at Metro North Adult Basic Education. Right now, Amber and I are both working out of Anoka Ramsey Community College in the developmental math department. Do you want to add anything, Amber?
We do lots of crazy stuff, and we've been doing this online teaching and trying to figure it out without stopping since February. So hopefully we can share some of the things we've learned by screwing stuff up and some of the things that we've learned.
Yep. All right. So on our agenda today, I think I'm going to shut my, it is off. Okay. On our agenda today, we're planning on using several different websites. So if you keep your phone, or you can open a tab on your browser, however you want to manage that, but we will be jumping out onto a few different sites. So please be patient. There'll be a little switching around. We're going to try some new things here. There'll probably be some challenges along the way. If we can just be a little flexible and trusting, we'll be good. And so thank you guys for taking some risks with us over the next hour. And go ahead and fasten your seatbelts because we are going to roll on here.
Yes, and before we get started, we just want to highlight that we are going to be going through a lot of different things today. We are in no way, shape, or form saying that this is how you should, this is not modeling instruction at this point. We're going to try to give you a really cool experience, but in 1 hour, please do not do all of these things with your actual students because they will cry.
So will you.
I agree. So when we are starting today's session, we want to kind of house the ideas in the idea that there are a lot of challenges to teaching online. And so when we're thinking about what are some of the challenges while we're teaching online, we want to make sure that we are being really honest with ourselves and being aware of the ways that we need to give ourselves and our students some grace. So right now there's a lot of changes, there's lots of expectations that we have on ourselves, and everything, it seems like every day there's a new shiny thing that we're supposed to be paying attention to. So the purpose of today's session is not to say you need to be using a million different tools to be a good online teacher. What we do hope you leave with is the idea that it's actually better to get some tools down in your belt and get experience with your students that you can use flexibly. So we love to call them multitaskers rather than unitaskers. So our hope is today that we can show you how to use some programs that you maybe have already played with, but use them in a different way. We don't have the time or the energy or the mental resources to learn a million new online products, and neither do our students. So the idea of today's session is to look at things you may be already using, but use them in a different way or use them for a different purpose. So that's our goal. And teaching online is really challenging, and getting engagement can be really challenging. And so what we're looking at today is ways that you can use technology to help students without having it just be a glorified worksheet or something that's online because it can be. So before we get started today, we want to take a quick poll just to kind of see where you're at. So we're going to be launching a poll to see, are you currently using any tools to help facilitate student engagement? So you've got some options. Nope, I'm not using them yet. I want to, but I need some help. I'm starting to, and I'm super comfortable with them. And I am here because I want to learn more. You can tell all of you are seasoned Atlas PD attendees because you are responding to these polls so speedy. All right, let's do about maybe 5 more seconds here.
Looks like we're getting a lot of people are starting to use them, huh?
Fantastic. I think we can probably, let's take a second here and let's end this poll. Let's share some results here. So Cindy, what do you notice in our results?
Yeah, I'm noticing that people are getting comfortable. They're starting to use them and explore a little bit. Maybe if somebody wants to drop in the chat too, what kinds of tools they're using, that might be interesting too. But it looks like we only have a few people here who haven't started yet. So, oh, I'm seeing.
What I like about this is that we're in a great place for learning some more. And so I'm really excited about that opportunity. So I'm going to stop these results here. Excellent. So let's go ahead, Cindy, and let's move forward.
Okay.
So we want to really focus on this as our framework today. The person doing the talking is the one doing the learning. And that's really important because we want to be really careful that the students are the one doing the work, doing the talking, doing the investigation, doing the inquiry. Online lectures where you're just talking at your students are not as effective as we would want them to be. And while we want to do a good job of trying to maybe capture some of those great things that happen in a live classroom setting, one of the challenges is that we can talk too much and we can be too helpful. So what we want to do today is we're going to show you how to use technology in a way that's hopefully not scary or overwhelming, but it has a clear intent and purpose. And that's going to really inspire some of those same pieces of engagement that you would have in a regular face-to-face classroom.
All right, so we just wanted to talk about what it really means when we're talking about engaging with a purpose. No one tool is one size fits all, and the wrong technology or too much technology can be overwhelming for students and teachers. When we're thinking about engaging with purpose, what we're thinking about is some useful purposes that you might have to engage your students, like implementing formative assessments, or helping to build discourse, or encouraging problem solving or active learning, or to promote collaboration among your students. What we're not talking about is creating flashy graphics or videos, or a way to keep your students busy for an hour, or just using technology for the sake of using technology just because it's fun. We can do better than that, right? So we just used a poll. We engaged you in our course here, and our purpose was to formatively assess your skill level. Are you using either tools, and what's your comfort level with using tools? And so we're prepared to adapt our lesson today to meet your needs and to help us decide where we should spend our limited time together. So what did we learn from the poll, Amber?
What I want us to do throughout this session is to really think, why did we pick this tool and how did this tool help us meet our purpose? So in the chat, I want to encourage you to take a second and maybe add something. How does using a poll help us engage in formative assessments for our students? So let's take a second, drop some stuff in the chat, and how do you think using a poll for the purpose of formative assessment helps us meet that purpose? So I'm seeing self-reflection, I'm seeing real-time feedback. It's a nice quick read, it's timely. It helps us gauge where it's at. We get to have many voices, helps us identify our needs. There's some really great stuff coming up in chat. All votes are counted. Isn't that an important, timely message right now? We're seeing some trends. We're able to say, with this tool, I am using it for this purpose. Now, there are lots of things a poll can do, but I don't want that poll to try to be everything in this one moment. So in this one moment, I'm using the poll as a formative assessment tool. And so we've learned that most of you are dabbling in using this technology. So we're not going to slow down and spend a lot of time on the why. We're going to get more into the how. So we are formatively assessing you right now to make your session, your experience, your day, hopefully more meaningful. So we're going to transition. Now, what's going to happen next is we are humbled and honored that we have 107 folks hanging out with us today. That is amazing. So what's going to happen is we are going to post a Jamboard link. And then maybe if Gail or Lindsay, can you help right now and get that link to the Jamboard posted? That would be great. I'm having tech issues. So thanks, Cindy. My Zoom crashed all day while I was teaching students this morning. So we're just gonna do the best we can today. So Jamboard, if you're not familiar, is a really great tool to use. And our purpose for this tool is collaboration. Now, what's going to happen is you are going to click on this Jamboard link. It's in chat. You do not need to log in. But what will happen, because we weren't anticipating so many friends joining us, is that we'll get to a point where people aren't able to join it any longer. So what'll happen is Cindy will share her screen so that everybody can kind of see what's happening. We are going to be spending some time in breakout rooms today. In your breakout room, if you have friends who aren't able to log into the Jamboard because Cindy and I didn't anticipate so many friends hanging out with us, can somebody in every room please share your Jamboard? So you'll be able to share screen. On the bottom of your screen, you'll see a share screen option. Please pick somebody in your room to be brave enough who's willing to share the screen. So Cindy, what we're going to have people doing is we're going to have people work together in a collaboration. Thanks, Chris. Definitely real talk. We just have to flow with it. And so pick a friend who can share their screen and just talk and collaborate. So that's our mission today, is we're going to give you some time in breakout rooms. What your challenge is to figure out how to label this cell. You're going to notice that in the top right-hand corner, it's going to say breakout room 1. So if you get into the breakout room, you're going to look up at the top of your screen, see what breakout room you're in, and you're going to use the arrows at the top of the screen to go to the slides that go with your breakout room. So what's going to happen is I'm not going to give you too much direction. So for this first slide, you are going to adapt, you're going to change those are called Post-its, those sticky notes, to tell me which number they go with. And then on your image, and then on the next slide, Cindy, can you go to the next frame? What you're going to do is you're going to move your information from complex in the top left corner down to simple, and you're just going to try to organize them from most simple to most complex. We are not anticipating that your group is going to have enough time to do all of this. We're just going to give you a few minutes to try to collaborate on this task. So even if your Jamboard is full and you can't get in, one of your teammates can show their screen and you can still work together. So as a reminder, just to review, you're going to be broken up. Stop working, you're too excited. This is what I tell my students too. Thanks, Wolverine.
So the answers are in the back too. And there's also a page in the back. If you have trouble getting back to Zoom, there's a little guide. So I think most of you can figure out.
We're going to send you to your breakout rooms. You're going to look at what your breakout room number is. You are going to move to the right frame that shows your breakout room. And if your friends can't get in, please somebody share your screen so that everybody can do that. All right. Gail, I think we're ready to open up those breakout rooms.
Okay, I'm going to put you in right now and I'm going to pause the recording.
Okay.
Welcome back, friends. Let's, Cindy, why don't you walk us through some of the things that we noticed as an instructor, while people were working on in their groups?
Well, we noticed that, which we were hoping for, that people took a lot of different approaches. We didn't intentionally give a lot of directions because we wanted to see how people would problem solve a little bit in here and how you guys work together to figure out what to do. And so some of the groups chose to number the And we see we got some movement here on the second one. And some of them, oh, see, some of you used a pencil and some of you figured out how to type on the notes. And I saw that some people were resizing the notes and sticking them right on the picture. All of these were fantastic strategies. And so we were really hoping that people would do different things just to learn how to use the Jamboard. There are so many things you can do with this. I was going to jump to one of these end cells. So I did put the answers in the back. I don't know if anybody saw these. And I also always include some navigation so you can find your way back to the Zoom. Do we have any comments? That was lots of fun. Yeah, if you guys want to react, how that experience went for you in your chat, we'd love to know what you thought and how you think you might be able to use it in your own.
Remembering that our goal was collaboration. Now, I use Jamboard with my students every single day when I'm in class for math purposes, but we used it for a different purpose today. What's really great is that, sorry, Cindy, do you want to go back to our presentation so we can talk about the pros and cons? Because there's a great question in here that goes with our pros and cons. So our purpose was collaboration, and collaboration in an online environment is incredibly important. It's really easy to feel isolated and alone and disconnected to the learning that's happening. And so we want to encourage students to make those connections. We know that community is incredibly important for our learners. So in Jamboard, you can use it on their own as well. But this is a great way for people to work together and see what's happening in real time. Whereas some other things like whiteboard.fi or some other things, they're not able to see the real time stuff that's happening. So how do I use it with math? Oh, I use it for literally everything in math. So we share work, we graph, we do everything we need to do, and it's pretty amazing. And then my students are able to then access the Jamboards after class, and they can see the work that's being done. Why don't we go to the next slide, Cindy?
Yep. So Jamboard does have graph paper as a background. They have a lot of different stuff, and you could put pictures on there like we did. So you could put a picture of your equation on there, something like that too. So, I don't know. There's a question here. Does it work on your cell phone?
So yes, there's a cell phone. There's a Jamboard app you have to download to be able to use it on your cell phone. And I have a number of students who do it pretty easily using their cell phone. It is something that you would want to practice in a very low stakes environment first. Chris has a great thing in their post about having students do a poster presentation. I also really love to use Jamboard for a gallery walk because students can go and look at all the different slides and be able to interact with them with the post-it notes and add comments or questions to their peers. So it's a really great opportunity. So that's the biggest downside, obviously, that you have to have the app if you are using it on a cell phone. Otherwise, my kids are using it in their classes with their Chromebooks. I use a Mac, my wife uses a PC, our tablets work great. So we know that it works in lots of different formats. And then there's that cell phone app to help students do it there. So the other thing that we need to consider when working with Jamboard is that it is a Google product and you can share it with anybody. They don't have to be logged in. But one of the problems is that then everything is kind of anonymous. And so sometimes if they're not logged in, it's kind of hard to assess what's going on. But the nice thing is, like we had in this, when Gail put us all in our breakout rooms, I can look at a breakout room and go, oh, breakout room 1 really needed support. So that then helps me be able to reach in and work with students. The other part of collaboration is that students really have to rely on each other to make this work. And so like you were able to see, we had an opportunity where we had a tech issue and we were still able to participate and engage.
There's a question here about the gallery walk.
So gallery walk is just like we would have in, does it work the same with Google Meets? Yeah, it works great on all of those. And actually Jamboard embeds really nicely into Google Classrooms and all of those great things. So anybody can be in Jamboard at any time. You can work with it synchronously or asynchronously. So it's a great way to have collaboration, even if they're not together. So you can assign students to, hey, you are working on slide 3 on our Jamboard, and here's your task. And students can do it synchronously or asynchronously. That way, when you come back to describe it or come back to work with it or come back and revisit it, it's already done. So it's pretty helpful that way. And so really kind of getting back to this purpose of we want to collaborate and share ideas. The best number of learners per group. So today we were not expecting 109 friends to join us. I find that 5 to 6 range is a really great number to keep students from being able to hide and not participate, but also get some stuff done when people need some extra support. I think 2 to 3 is okay if you have a really nice targeted task, but when you want to kind of get some like bigger thinking, having some bigger groups sometimes helps. All right, Cindy, so we talked about collaboration. Now we are going to transition. So we've talked about 2 tools so far. We're going to try another tool. And so Desmos, you are probably really familiar with if you attended Math Institute. Desmos is a tool most frequently used by math teachers. And we want to say Desmos is not a unitasker. Desmos can effectively be used in any content area. And we are going to show you a way to use Desmos for active practice. So, and then Andy's doing a shout out for his session. So active practice is important because especially when you are in an online setting, it is really hard to see your students thinking. It's hard to see their processing. And maybe you're only doing things in a written format that you're sending them back and forth. With this Desmos activity, we can actually see them in real time doing some work. And I can also give them feedback on it. And we're also able to adjust as our instruction as we go along. So what's nice is that we're using this as independent practice, but with a large group lens. So Cindy, do you want to talk about what's going to happen? They're going to click on that link in the chat, and then what?
Well, I'm going to switch over to I think I'll switch if I can find it here to the Jamboard. So I'm going to view the dashboard here. So we're going to go into the Jamboard. If you can either go to the student.desmos.com and type in the code, and that will let you into the Jamboard, or you can use the link that I sent. And, do you want me to push it out again one more time?
It never hurts to send it out one more time.
Okay. So I'm going to close this out. So you can go ahead and hop over there. And I think
so it might say, hold on, Cindy. So somebody's saying, hey, I think the link is telling me I have to sign in. There's actually going to be a little line that says continue without signing in. You do not have to sign in to do this activity. And then Cindy, why don't you make this anonymous?
Okay, I was just thinking that I would hide everybody's name so you don't, you can feel good about saying whatever you want, but you can see, I can see where everybody is in people who are moving on to their 3 tasks in here. So I can click on the first task and get a feel for what people are doing. So this task was, I made a video here, which I'm not going to play, but you can play it on your own. Own board.
Let's mute ourselves for a second. What we want you to do is we want you, we're going to mute ourselves. We want you to click on this sentence dictation. It's 45 seconds, and then try to use that box to say what you think you heard. And so Cindy, do you want to, can you show the student view so people, if they're not able to get in, they can kind of see what our participants are seeing? Great, so let's be quiet for a second while people work. I have horrible wait times. Cindy, can you show what the teacher view looks like so we can kind of see as a teacher what's happening? Look at all these responses.
So should we try taking a picture?
Yes. So what's really nice is that we can go through and have students work on this synchronously or asynchronously, and we can pick, Cindy's taking some screenshots of student responses. And so we can use these as an instructor to be able to group people together, or maybe to highlight, hey, look at, let's compare, how are these sentences alike and different? What are some things that we see happening here?
I don't know snapshots. Is it here?
Yes. So now we can compare these and we can ask a question about them. How are they alike? How are they different? And as an instructor, we can actually pull in and use this as an instructional tool. Cindy, let's spend a second. Let's go on to our next slide. So as you can tell, you can't go any further until Cindy gives you permission. She's using that as a teacher pacing tool. So now all of you will be moved on to slide number 2. Cindy, what's happening on slide number 2?
Slide number 2, we're going to match the pictures and just look at the pictures and decide if that has a long vowel sound or a short vowel sound. And if you drop the picture right on top of the word.
Do you want to model that?
Yeah, if you drop it right on top, it will lock into place. I thought I took the words out of here. Okay, so group the words with the long and short vowel sound. So somewhere on there, there's one with short. So yeah, go ahead and give that a try.
So now in terms of active practice as an instructor, I can see who is participating in the activity. You can notice that some people have their groups in a different color. If their groups aren't green, that means that they might have made a mistake. So that we can go in and respond to that. Now we can actually click on one person and actually go in and we can actually give feedback or interact with that person using the little chat box at the top of that screen there. So what's really cool is that this is actively practicing and I can give you feedback saying, ooh, I think you've made a mistake on a card. Let's go back and revisit that. Or hey, let's try this again, or whatever it might be. Now, if you're using this asynchronously, students can come back and see that later. So if you say everybody needs to do this sort by the time we get to our class on Wednesday, you can do that as well. So we see some people doing some great work there. Let's go to the last one just for a giggle. So now we're going to look at it. We are looking at vowel sounds. And so we just want you to match the picture and the sound that the vowel makes in that picture. So this is a way for us to see actively, how are we doing connecting maybe this topic that we talked about in class. And we can actually format this so that it tells the students immediately if they got their answers right or wrong. Whereas this one, we don't have it auto-corrected because we want to be able to use this as an instructional tool, not with that real-time feedback, but it is easy to make it work.
Nope, I'm going through the...
So I'm looking at one person's responses right now. So that gives me an idea if I wanted to use this in active practice to also do some kind of formative assessment saying, oh, Mary looks like they've got it under control. So then I'm going to move on to the next person who may need help, or maybe I can then pair people in a way using this as a guide. All right, Cindy.
Should we end this and come on back then?
Let's head back. So what I'd like you to do now is you can X out this screen. You'll have a link so you can come back and play in this later. I'd like for you to come back to our main Zoom room, please. Cindy, can you put up our presentation?
Yep.
And you should see, if you are in the right place, this slide that says active practice. So we wanted to make sure that you were able to see that Desmos is a very strong tool, is a very, very strong tool for active practice. And it's a very strong tool in math and science. But we wanted to show you that anything you can do in a Google Slides presentation, you can do in a Desmos slide. And so having a place where you can do a lot of great things that gives you access. How much prep time with Desmos? So here's some things. There are already pre-made lessons all over Desmos that you can take. And so my wife has pulled up social studies lessons for her high school class on Desmos. So yes, you do have to scaffold how to use this. This isn't something that you just drop them in without giving them practice. There are lots of really low and high stakes engagement opportunities. So you can make the slides as busy or as clean as you want them to be. So thinking about where your learners are. Now we made them messier on purpose, but you certainly don't have to do it that way. I really want to say that there are really great opportunities for you to learn more about Desmos. Andy is doing a session later today. That is going to be math focused, but it's certainly not the only thing you can do with this tool. Does it work well with phones? Yep. Much of Desmos is completely mobile friendly. And what's really nice is that it will tell you right on your teacher home screen if the tool you want to use is mobile friendly or not. So you can just add tools into your Desmos lessons that are mobile friendly. And so that is really great as an instructor because I'll know right away. And like I said, we made ours really messy and cluttered. I wouldn't expect you to do that with your students, but we wanted you to have some experience sliding things around. And so Andy has a great comment here saying like it works really well on phones, but it'll also tell you like, hey, this isn't really optimized. Are you sure you want to do this? So teacher.desmos.com has a ton of resources. There's webinars weekly. It is completely free to use, which I think is great. It is completely compatible with Google Classroom where it can actually grade stuff and drop grades into your Google Classroom if you're using that. Andy does have another great point, that scaffolding. Any technology you use requires scaffolding. That being said, the kindergarten teachers and the elementary teachers and the middle school teachers and the high school teachers are using Desmos a lot with their students at every level. So what's really cool is that there's lower level activities out there that are really like low risk activities for students to try, and you can build it and make it as complicated as you want. When I take a snapshot to share and click to present, does it show that to everyone as if you inserted a slide? So what we can do is we actually can insert that in a slide. We were just using it in a way that if we were leading a class instruction, that we would have that up, but we would be able to then push that out to students.
Yeah, I would call everybody back into the room. I don't know why I have so much feedback.
I'm not sure. So what I want to think about is, Chris, I'm not sure, but I could find out. Chris is asking if there's a way to make a snapshot of an overlay, and I don't know. I'm sure there is. I would just use screenshot for my own because that's what I'm more comfortable with. But I want us to think about how did Desmos, granted, there were some issues with some of the pictures not being able to be grabbed as carefully as maybe we had wanted, but thinking about the access of what we had, and our purpose was to do some active practice, some active engagement with our students. How do you think Desmos met this purpose? Because remember, we don't want to just use a tool because it's flashy. We want to use a tool because there is benefit for the student and the instructor. So in terms of active practice, can you add some stuff in the chat about why do you think this helped build active practice for our students, or for you, or for us? So there's lots of great stuff in the chat. What are you seeing, Cindy?
Yeah, I think independent, I can see what everybody's doing. I switched microphones, so I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not.
You sound great.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Everybody's working independently, and I can control the pace or not control the pace, so I can let them work ahead if they're finishing before everybody else. So that's kind of nice too. But yeah, we can see who's struggling and who's getting it.
So Cindy, we are at 125 and we have one more tool we want to play with. But before we get there, can you give us just one more reminder of how to make sure I am trying to engage students in technology with a purpose?
So we really just wanted to point out some of the considerations when you're choosing an activity and a tool to use. Really think about the purpose of the activity. What are you hoping they get out of it? Is it collaborating? Do you want them to have a discussion, problem solving? Make sure if you have a real clear goal, it's much easier to pick the right tool, and really think about the limitations and the benefits. And most importantly, is there a tool that I already have that can do this job? I don't have to go find something new for every activity.
So our goal today was to get you an experience using different tools for a different purpose. Now, we didn't give you enough time or support or scaffolds to become experts at any of these tools, but we wanted to just kind of give you a taste of what you could do. So our very last experience here today is with self-assessment. So our purpose for this last activity is for you to think about how you are doing as an instructor, as a person learning about engaging with technology. So Cindy, take it away.
Yeah, so just before I push this out, I just want you to take like a minute and reflect on your experience today and see if you can identify some personal takeaways from the session. If you have any thoughts about some professional development you might like to see, and then I'm going to go ahead and push this out, and I'm going to present. So if you can use your cell phone, you can open a tab on your computer, on your browser. If you just go to menti.com and put in the code 9407279, you'll be able to participate here with us. And so we just want a quick assessment here. What was our purpose here? Engaging activities are meant to be engagement activities. So let's see if we can get some, hopefully some people will put some wrong answers so we can see what this looks like. Not rigging the vote or anything. There we go. So if you make it over there, I'm just going to give you a few more seconds here, and then I'm going to move on to the next slide. So this is another way. What was our purpose here, Amber?
Self-assessment. So this is for our participants to see how they're doing on our learning targets, but it also is a great way for us to do this as formative assessment as well. And we can talk about pie graphs later. Who loves a good pie chart?
Yeah. All right, I'm going to move ahead to the next one here, if I can remember how to control my screen. So now we want you to rank the tools we use today. How likely would you be to use them? So number one in the most likely, and the fourth place would be the least likely. I'm not very likely to use that. And we can see in real time as people are ranking their things, we can see what's happening. And so this is a kind of a nice way for you to assess your own comfort with each of these, and maybe which ones you would like to learn more about too, or which ones you think are the most versatile. Looks like Jamboard is really popular, isn't it?
So it looks like we have about 1 minute left of our session, and of course we always love to run over. So I I see in the chat that somebody had a hard time with getting that to work. I have never had that happen. I do have a pre-entered code when I go in there. Bye, Andy. I can't wait to see your session. Be great. So before we let you go, we just want to say our purpose here, we had a clear purpose that we wanted you to be able to think about and reflect on what we talked about today. But Cindy, if you go to that last slide, we are here for one more. We are here for you. One of the things that we want you to know is that obviously we would never put our students through 5 or 6 different tools in 1 hour, but we are here if you have questions or you want to play with them. There is a handout. Gail, where do they get the handout?
That would be in the participation file. I'll put that link in here.
Great. So in you will see how to use it. We have 15 minutes left. I thought we were done at 1:30.
No, 1:45, Amber.
Oh my God, I was so panicked. Oh, for cheese and sprinkles. Well, then we have time for questions. We have Cindy.
You know what we also have time for?
Why don't we try one more? Do we want to have another? We have another tool. Do you want to try one more tool before you leave since we've got 15 minutes?
There you go. You can breathe now.
Oh, for cheese and sprinkles. Okay.
Are we looking at the,
Well, let's try one more tool since we've got time.
are we looking at the Pear Deck?
I'm seeing a Pear Deck right now. All right. So if you've never used Pear Deck is another great tool that we have available to us through Google. It is free. There's lots of things that you get with free access. If you are connected to a school that is a Google school, you likely have more access to some other tools as well. So what I'd like you to do is on your computer or on your cell phone, go to joinpd.com. That's joinpd for Pear Deck.com. We have 3 students who are already in, so A+ to all of you. And then our code is Green Yards Warmly Help New X-Rays. So GYWHNX. So go ahead and put that in. And Cindy, you want to drop that link? Just do the give students a link and put that link in the link down there in the thing where it says give students a link.
Like that, joinpd.com.
See in the bottom of the Pear's belly where it says open teacher dashboard. Next it says give students a link. If you click on that, you can do it that way too. Let's start class. Let's start class. Try it again, Cindy, but to everybody.
Yeah. That's there you go.
So okay, let's start class. So Pear Deck is a really cool thing that takes your Google Slides and it makes them interactive. And so what is really neat about this is that we can kind of see what you're doing. And what's really cool is the students, if they are coming in late, they can enter that code GYWHNX. It'll be up in the screen, so they'll be able to come in late if they need to. So what I'd like you to do on your screen is what is our direction, Cindy?
So number the roles. So down at the bottom of your screen, I can't see it right now, but there's some little dots and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you just drag them, if you grab onto them, you can drag them and put them by to show the order of succession. So obviously we should all know that the president is first, and then see if you can drag your dots.
So now you have time to work on this. It's interactive. You're working on this, but then Cindy can show how our friends are doing. So Cindy, when you have a second, show responses.
Show responses.
So this is amazing because we can kind of see that we're pretty comfortable where 1 is. We're pretty comfortable where 2 is, but then do you notice what's happening with the other numbers? Now, I am noticing some really nice consistency happening. I see somebody's moving their 1 just to move it. I love that. So now I'm being able to do some formative assessment here. My students are able to engage. Now, this is also one of those synchronous or asynchronous opportunities. This is a Google Slide presentation. So what's great is that it's in Google Slides. It's easy to go. I can find it. All right, Cindy, it looks like I can also like jump in. So if I see something I'm worried about, I can jump in and add a prompt in there or anything like that. But it looks like we're not quite sure what happens around 4 and 5. We're super confident. There's a downloading an extension. Yeah,
Yes,
there is an extension.
There is
Yep. And all of that information is also on the handout. All right, let's try the next one, Cindy. Let's go to the next slide.
All right.
So,
here,
what are we doing here, Cindy?
I think there are some flags on the bottom of the screen, and you can use a flag to show which people are in the wrong branch. So each section is a branch of government, and one of those parties belongs there, and one of them is misplaced. So we'll give you a second to try that.
Do the flag colors mean something?
I think we just want you to put up a flag. We don't really care which color, but just flag the person who's in the wrong place. I think our goal was just to show you that you have different colors. You can use them for different things.
My flags won't stay.
I think other people, I don't know, when you're looking at it, you're only seeing your own, right?
Well, I
So
dropped
you're
a
not-
flag, and when I move the next flag, then the first one disappears.
And so the flags can, I mean, so what ends up happening is I think we also have to remember we've got 100 people on it right now, so it's probably not as super happy. But what's nice is that there are dozens and dozens of different options, and there are already pre-made PowerPoints or slides that you can use. So Cindy and I just downloaded these to use and tweaked them for our needs. So that's one of the things that's really cool about this. So obviously it's a little glitchy with 83. And so most of the time we're probably not doing with this with 83 people at the same time. But it's a way for us to get this interactive piece that's going on.
Yeah, and we get a lot more engagement when we use these types of things. There are fewer people who are just not participating. So.
All right, so we've talked about branches of government and figure out who's in the wrong place. Andy's helping us out in the chat. Yeah, so there's some really important things to consider about how your students are accessing the material. So if you know most of your students are accessing this using a cell phone, you would pick a tool out of Pear Deck that's more appropriate for your audience. So we figured lots of you would probably be on a computer, which is why we picked these, but you have so much control over it. Cindy, what's our last one? Do we have one more or two more? This is it?
No, I think it's, when is election day in the United, we did have one more. When is election day in the United States?
I think Pear Deck works well on phones, but there might be certain tools that are better suited for it to not be used on cell phones.
So this one might work better on your cell phone.
We had no clue when we were making this, right?
Nope. This is the first time I've used it, so. It was a learning. Same with Desmos. I've never used the card sort. So my pictures, I had a lot of trouble controlling the size of the pictures in Desmos. So they did get too big to move around on the screen. So there is a learning curve there.
But just like anything else, if we're finding a way, like we're already using Desmos, let's use it for something else. If we're already using Google Slides, adding Pear Deck onto it is a really easy way to up our game with engagement without having to teach the students a whole new platform. So it looks like our participants are doing really well. Apparently nobody thinks Thanksgiving.
I was just going to say, Mentimeter is the same. You can import your whole slideshow into there and then just add quizzes along the way. So that's quite versatile too. All right, I don't know. I think the last one was just the Pear Deck slide, so. All right, I guess we can open up to questions then. Should we go back?
Yeah, I'd love to hear any questions. I guess we have 5 whole minutes left. But what kind of ways that we can, do you use the free Mentimeter? Yes, I'm poor and cheap, and so I don't pay for more than that. But Cindy, it's what, 2 or 3?
Oh yeah, you only get 2 quiz pages on the free account. And so I just use the 2 pages and use my regular presentation. Yeah, Pear Deck, we didn't think we'd have enough time, so.
Cindy, do you want to pull up our handout real quick so we can kind of show them how we put the handout together?
Well.
The answer is yes.
You're assuming that I can find it real quick.
Go in the chat.
Oh, okay. There.
So the back and forth. So a lot of this is practice. And I just want you to know that we would not jump in the first time we would have students use these tools in this way. So when I say low stakes, I've introduced Jamboard with my students where we just voted on which one is better, Chipotle or Taco Bell. Like finding really small ways to get them to interact with it in a way that's not super serious is really important, because we don't want that to be the thing we're assessing when we're using these tools. So you want to play with them a little bit. So maybe you have your enter ticket being some silly poll or something that's low engagement. So like, hey, did you do the readings from yesterday? If yes, put the flag in the yes column. If no, put it in the no column. That idea that it's a small way for them to just get used to being in there. And then we actually practice a lot in my class. So I would say, okay, you are in right now you are in your Desmos slide. I want you to stop doing that and come back here. When you're back here, can you put something in chat so that I know you're here, or use the yes reaction in our participant thing, and just kind of practice that with students. But what I will say is that my students have adapted incredibly well to Desmos, into Desmos and Jamboard, and now they've all reported that that's what makes coming to class worthwhile. And yes, using that link to chat and being able to be like, okay, click here, okay, close the X, come back here, and just being really open about modeling it on camera. So I would share my whole desktop and model. That modeling and support is really important. So Cindy, do you want to show them what they're going to see on their handout?
So we added, little car out here. We did add a link to our slides, and we added, we included links to all the resources we used today. So there's links to Desmos, and you can go back and look at our activities again, and how to make your own. So.
And so for those of you who use things like a Google Classroom or a Padlet or whatever you're using to helping your maybe students who are lower lit levels, you can make all of these be links that you have right on your main classroom page, or however your students are using to access materials. And so what's really nice about that is that you can figure out a way to, or even take a picture and put it on your classroom page and make it so that when they click on that picture, it's a hyperlink that brings them somewhere. There's lots of ways to make these things accessible to your students. And it's about finding the tools that meet your students where they're at, but then help push them and support them where they need to go. So we are here if you have any questions. We have all of our resources on this slide here, or on this document. We are learning by doing. If you have questions or want to come see what it looks like in our classes or whatever, you're always welcome. We are usually a hot mess, but that's how we learn what works. Right, Cindy?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yep. Let's see if I can find the link for that document. It's restricted. You want me to unrestrict it here?
No, because it's in the drive. So if you go to that drive Gail posted earlier,
Okay.
Lindsay just posted it again. We appreciate all of you. I also hope that you are able to take some time before your next session. please go outside. It is 75 degrees. There is vitamin D pouring in on us. It's Minnesota. This will not happen because next week it's going to be snowing. But thank you for taking time today to spend some time with us, just seeing like what we're doing. We're in this together and we're so happy to be a part of this team. So thank you for joining us. Email us anytime. We're here to help. And go check out some of the other cool sessions. I can't wait to see what Andy has to say about Desmos later. And thanks to Andy for giving me a heart attack thinking my session was going to be too late.